What's up, guys? Welcome to the Tristcast. Before we get into this week's episode, I invite you to follow the Tristcast and leave a rating. Peace.
Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to the Tristcast. I am your host, Tristan Dario, and I invite you to sit back, relax, catch a vibe, and enjoy the show.
How's it going, everyone? Welcome back. Before we get into this week's episode, I just want to say thank you all for your love and support. And if you have any suggestions whatsoever that you would like to hear on next week's episode, please leave a comment with that suggestion and maybe it'll be on next week's episode. All right, guys, peace out. I'll see you in today's episode. Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back. Hope everybody is doing nicely today. You know, this week, this fantastic time of learning, if I do say so myself. I just have to say, I'm very grateful to be going through what I'm going through. As I always say, I would say right now there was a lot of cloudiness. Not right now, but there was a lot of cloudiness. Not even maybe not even cloudiness. It was more so I have been I would say I've been sick the last couple of days. I've needed more rest for the very first time in like I can't even say how long. I took a nap yesterday, like a nap during my day. It was in early afternoon hours and I just knocked out. And that's not normal for me. At least that wasn't normal for the last, I don't know, like 4 to 8 months. It wasn't really taking naps. It was trying to find a way to stay busy. But I was watching a Baba Ram Das video about addictions and attachment yesterday, and I got to the point yesterday where I was like, I really need to cry. I need to get something out. Like, there's emotion in me that I really want to get out of me. And it wasn't coming out. But when I watched Ram Dass speak and do a Q&A back in, I think it was late 80s, or maybe, I don't know. I wasn't able to see, but it was a talk where he was speaking on addiction and attachment, talking about love, drugs, how they can impede on our psyche, psychodynamics, and stuff like that, like psychoanalyzing ourselves. And it was actually really interesting because Baba Ram Dass really promotes how he promotes the taking ourselves out of it and just because there was another one I was trying to watch where it was, you know, just it has to do with suffering. And it was actually a really good video. I have them both. I'm going to place them in the description. I've talked about it a lot here on the podcast. I absolutely adore Ram Dass, his perception on life, and it's just mind-boggling for me. There's another one that they're doing right now. It's Alive. It was emotions and personality. Like, he was just with the stuff I read and what I listen to about him. Passionate consciousness. Oh my gosh. Nah, man, he's badass. He just knows how to do it. But addiction and attachment is something that I would say I have a lot of, you know, experience with in the past. Jumping from drug or jumping into a relationship, something that can make me feel whole, something that can, because I, at the time when I was younger, obviously didn't know what it was with being whole. Like, you assume as you grow up that the only thing that makes you whole is either a vice that is going to, you know, close that void in your heart that you don't really know where it comes from sometimes, but over the course of your journey of spirituality or in your faith, religion, whatever it is that you believe in, you come to find that that void in your chest isn't that cannot be filled by any person or any drug or anything besides your own love for yourself. And that is something that's very difficult to really talk about, and that is something to really, you know, not even understand, but to take in, because we all have our own daily wars that we face, and there's a lot of us that feel that truly see life as crumbling around us, and being able to take ourselves out of that and just seeing the good in it. People applaud me. Oh man, I wish I could be as happy as you, or at least see things from the perspective as you do. And I appreciate those kind of praises. I really do, because it makes me feel good, and it makes me feel like I am doing what I'm supposed to be doing. But at the same time, it's not always true. You can be an optimistic and positive person, but that doesn't mean that you're happy all the time. That doesn't mean that you are necessarily getting through things better than anyone else. It just means that you are choosing to change how you look at the things happening, and that takes a lot of strength, growth. It takes you having to really be within the darker sides of yourself. You have to embrace everything. And I think that is the hard part, especially in the journey of loving yourself. Falling in love with even your dark spots, like your shadow self, as it is referred to. We constantly are our light selves, but we don't learn everything through the light. We really learn when things are really shitty, and we know we don't like how we feel in those moments. So what we have to do is we have to bring ourselves out, and that's where you build your resiliency. At least that's my opinion, because in my experience, every single time I've fallen down, I've had to get back up, and I have to push myself back up. I won't let myself either fail. I won't let myself down. And I would say what could also have helped me along my journey of resiliency is, I would place pressures on myself, or I would place pressure on myself, because I just cannot allow certain things, which isn't necessarily good. We need moments where we can learn in different ways, and adding pressure to ourselves just to get to somewhere could ultimately hurt us in a way that we are left burnt out. We are left with resentment towards the things we love and stuff like that. And being as a person who has not pressured, but put pressure on themselves to achieve something, to get something done, to get themselves somewhere where they want to be, having pressure, that can be a good stressor to keep you motivated and keep you going. But at the same time, it can really lead to a downward spiral if you aren't careful, because it's kind of the sense of, just as much time and effort you're putting into your craft, your art, your job, you have to equally put as much into your self-care, because if you don't, you're going to lead to burnout, or you're going to lead to resentment, or you're not going to complete the task or the project that you're working on. And that's going to lead you to being so worried about how you're going to do it in the future. Are you going to be able to do it in the future? Or you're going to even damn near go to the point where you're saying, am I even confident in myself to getting anything done? And at the end of the day, yes, you are. You are more than able to get whatever it is you want done, but because of the stressors and the societal norms, or whatever is going up against you, or that you feel is going up against you, those are the ways that are trying to knock you down. But if you're able to give yourself some slack, be easy on yourself, you'd be surprised with how much farther you'd be able to go. And that's really the point of it, it's just very interesting, and to really think about, how we build our resilience, and the whole task of when you fall down, getting back up. Sometimes it's really freaking hard to get back up. And that's not really the fun part. Getting back up when you've been pushed down is the point where you just feel like you don't want to even go anymore. And I've been there. I really have. I mean, at least in this point where I'm at probably right now, what I would say is overthinking has shut me down in the past. Um, Trying to get somewhere that I may not even be able to get to, and just putting all my energy in doing that. There's only so much you can do all by yourself, and that's why it's so important that you build a team or you build a village, a group of people that you can count on, rely on, and they can do the same with you. That's why it's really dope to be able to go along life with the closest people to you, the people that you can count on, but also at the same time they can count on you. But also at the same time, as a person with trust issues, it's hard to be able to count on people sometimes. And I'm sure it has gone the same way towards me. What's up, guys? Wanted to take a quick moment and invite you to leave a comment on today's episode. Tell me something about yourself or tell me something about today's episode that you enjoyed. Peace. With some people, some people that I've came along this journey with, they probably looked at me and said, I don't know if I can trust Tristan. And, I understand that. It's understandable. It's this thing in you. If you come from past trauma where it's led to trust issues, that's a fickle thing. And to deal with that, to have to gain the confidence in not only yourself that you are making the right decisions and following your intuition, connecting with the correct people, you're also putting confidence in the people that you're connecting with, networking with, and choosing to do work with. Because if you're not following, at least trying to follow your intuition, obviously we can't control who we work with unless, like, if you have, some sort of reasoning or proof to your own self why you can't trust someone. That's the only difference. That's when you know which decision to make and which decision not to. So, as in, if someone is giving you a reason not to trust them on why you shouldn't work with them, you probably should listen to what information you have and not do anything with them. But when it comes down to working with people that or working with people that you truly feel that you can trust, but you still have that, that piece in you, that fear's talking to you saying, but hey, what if something were to happen? And, you never know what's going to happen. Yeah, you never know what's going to happen. But it's it kind of makes you feel alive because you're making something with someone else. You don't know where this is going eventually, but at least you took that step, took that risk. And I'm all about taking, risks, more so risks that help me in the end. Obviously, a lot of risks going to help you either way. It's just, is one going to hurt you a little bit more than the other? Can't always put those in to the situation at times, so you really just got to go with your gut, which is why I always say follow your heart and trust your gut, because your gut doesn't lie, and your heart is going to lead you to the things that resonates with you, aligns with you, and what's ultimately going to teach you the lessons you need to learn. That is my own belief, and I promote that. I promote that belief because, in my opinion, and as I've discussed before, we are spiritual beings experiencing a human experience. And we have the opportunity to experience life with everything it has to offer. So that means taking that risk and putting your confidence in yourself that you're making the right decisions, you're bringing the right people in. Whatever happens from that point forward, it's ultimately going to teach you a lesson you needed to learn. And there's nothing wrong with that. It may hurt like a bitch. It may knock you down to the point where you don't even want to get back up and try again. But that's the experience of life. It's that state of constantly learning. It's that state of constantly changing that is so beautiful. You wouldn't even believe, it's like changing your mindset. Like, what if something bad happens? What if something amazing were to happen because you took that chance? changing your mentality on that and just choosing to see it from a different perspective, because that's my thing as a person who may switch perceptions from time and time again, but I'm constantly learning, and I'm constantly seeing things, and my mind is adapting to new things I'm learning, which is so cool. So I'm gradually trying to make different, like, I'm trying to make different decisions for different things that are happening in my life, so I may adapt more, become more flexible, but also, more importantly, be constantly educated and learning about something new. I read an interesting quote yesterday. I can't remember who it was, but it goes as, it was a Lao Tzu quote, and it says, for you to gain knowledge, you have to add something every day. For you to gain wisdom, you have to release something. You have to release one thing, which is very interesting because, I may not even fully understand this quote, but adding knowledge on a daily basis, but choosing to let go of a piece of something that you gained in the before to gain wisdom. And that's one of my things. Like one of the things I've talked to people about on my journey is a lot of the experience I have has given me so much wisdom that I've been able to give to so many other people, and it's been vice versa along my path with people giving me their wisdom. I love it because the wisdom I gain, I get to give away without even having to experience it myself, which I heard that in a quote not too long ago, and I loved it when I heard that, because when you realize you don't have to experience everything, and that's why it's so cool being able to connect with people, talk about each other's, you know, experiences, what they've learned, how they have grown and what they've gone through is so cool, because then if you ever meet someone that is going through a similar experience but you've never necessarily gone through it, you can connect the dots kind of. And you can be like, "Oh, well, I've actually came across a person who went through something like this," or we'll have some sort of idea of how we can go about, the situation with that person. I'm just, I seriously have no idea what's going on. This sickness needs to pass. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of this. But I another on the topic of, pressure and placing that on ourselves, trying to create something, you know, we can't always rush ourselves, especially when we don't, because this is the topic of, gaining a team, gaining a village, gaining people around you to be able to build something together. If you don't have everything that it's taking to be able to start, or if you don't have everything that you need to really get yourself forward, it's okay to take your time. And if you know that this is a goal that you're constantly working toward, it's going to come to fruition either way. But because of that fear, or because of that, anxiety that we may not, because there's this whole, I don't know if it's a quote or saying, but I heard it not too long ago, and the whole thing around when we have an idea but we don't act on the idea quick enough, one day that idea gets made by another person. It's not that, you weren't the one it's not that you were supposed to do it. It's just that idea's time came to be, and now it's made. Now we can all have our own select projects that we're working on, but when it comes down to really making something, if we're making constant, um, you know, if we're making constant ground, or if we're putting in effort on a consistent basis, I believe that we will make this idea come true. The only problem is when we start getting down in the mud, or if we start to lose motivation or focus, and then it takes too long, and that's when it just becomes another person's idea. But we don't have to be stuck on that fear. It's just as has been said before, taking baby steps, making 1% effort every day does more than not doing anything at all. And that's what's really important. And that's why it's so important to take your time. Because even if you take your time, at least in the very end of it all, it's going to be so much more worth it than it may feel, trying to rush it and then burning out and then not being able to make it as good as it possibly can be. Taking your time. A little goes a long way is a quote that goes in my mind often. A little goes a long way. And if you're doing a little bit every day, goes a long way. And, when we're stuck on all the ideas and the plans and the things we want to do and everything that's going on in our minds, we forget how important it is to be able to take ourselves out. As artists, for us to be able to create, we also need that time where we sit back and just be and have our creative intake rather than trying to creatively, project, or I'm trying to use another term instead of creative intake, but we need to have time set aside to be able to take in other pieces of art or other types of inspiration or anything that we can use to add to our own craft. Because if we are constantly trying to work, or if we are constantly working and not taking time out for self-care or giving ourselves the time we need to relax, to give our brain time to chill, we're just going to keep either not getting exactly what it is we're trying to gain when we're taking the information, or we're just going to be so burnt out that we can't do anything else except just lay around and sleep. And for example, I've been working more than I've been able to just sit down and watch stuff or read or look at paintings or graphic design, taking in other types of art to be able to give me some inspiration. Now, I'm finding information on Ram Dass, Alan Watts, Terrence McKenna, which is so crazy because I just started getting Terrence McKenna videos and stuff like that, which is so cool. I actually just heard a really crazy quote that Terrence McKenna said, and he said psychedelics are not for not they are not for stupid people. And I haven't watched enough Terrence McKenna to really understand what he's saying by that, but I heard someone talking about what Terrence McKenna was explaining by that, and it was people who aren't spiritually awoken and people who aren't interested in it. There's people that, it's like counterculture back in the 70s. They only did mushrooms and psychedelics because they thought it was cool and they wanted to get super high and stuff like that, and that was causing a lot of backlash towards psychedelics and marijuana and stuff like that. So to hear this speaker talk about something that I'm very passionate in and I've dabbled in, it's just so interesting to hear how this person just flat out says, no, it's not for stupid people. I don't know what it means. I'm not going to use his words, or I'm not going to speak on that. It's just I'm going to do a little bit more research on that, get an understanding of what he means by it. But I just found it very interesting. I've always, a lot of people that talk to me, a lot of the people that I come by, if I'm able to talk about psychedelics with them, I talk about how useful they are in our own growth. Now, not everybody needs them, and not everybody should do them. It really matters on your mental health. It matters on where you are already, and if you're in a good state to do it. That's why it's not recommended to just go and do. You really should be around people who know what they're doing, or people who have experience, or more than anything, you just need to make sure that you are in a good place. Because I would not just go out and do something that you've never done thinking, oh, I'm going to get this crazy experience. No. You need to make sure you read up on it. You need to do your own research. You need to do your due diligence before just doing something. Because just because someone says, oh, dude, this is a great idea, you need to do this, does not mean you should just go and do it. Because, that's speaking on one person's experience, and that's speaking on their own experience on what happened to them. And I could go on for hours about my experiences and what's happened to me. But the importance of this is really just the idea of opening your mind to the sweetness of doing nothing. Dolce ver niente. It's Italian for the sweetness of doing nothing. It's opening your mind to understanding that life isn't meant to just work, 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 take in, take in, take in, take in. One of the main importance of life is experiencing and being and just doing things that are going to bring you senses of feeling alive. And as a person who is always trying to find the ways to, expand their life and their happiness and their joy, I think about everything I could do, all the talks I could have, all the information I can take in, but at the end of the day, I need to chill the hell out, because if I don't, it's just going to lead to, a repetition of cycles is going to lead to me just being drained. And if there's one thing I do not like, I do not like being drained. I don't. I like to have energy. Yesterday all day, go back on this, I was so under the weather that like I was sitting in a chair, I knocked out, and I walked around the yard like 5 times. I did like a mile's worth of walking. And today, after my whole day yesterday, after how it went, I went to bed like 10:30. I woke up this morning, so much energy, and I just feel so much better. Now, granted, I got like mucus or some shit going on, but I started my day with my eggs. I started my day with my avocado toast. It was feeling good. That probably sounded beautiful. I'm just being and allowing the pressure to dissipate, because that's what I was getting into. I got into a point where I was constantly trying to just do, 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 do. And this is kind of like, this one of the main lessons I've had to learn for a while now. It's, I don't always have to be going. I can just sit here and I can just be me. I can just do me. I can watch my movies. I can play my video games. I can chill out, because life is really about experiencing. And at the same time, when we're experiencing, we're constantly growing. We're evolving. One of my favorite mantras right now is I embrace all that is new. Or, yeah, I embrace all things new. Um, I'm connected with all things new. I embrace my spiritual gifts, and my life is constantly evolving, or my life is magical. One of the two words. That's one of the mantras I've had. One of my favorite mantras, I've been saying for a while now, and that is I attract positive experiences and people into my life. Um, it's especially as someone who thinks they may be doing something bad all the time, or they may not be doing right by people. That's like, if there's anything I've dealt with in the past, it's always trying, like in the past, being a people pleaser and just making sure other people are happy, and to realize how draining that is to make other people happy rather than just being able to take time to myself and be me. That's been one of the greatest things I've been able to come to terms with, figure out, because it's a pressure. Being a people pleaser puts so much pressure onto you to be a certain way to make other people happy. Walk on eggshells when you don't even have to. When you could just be yourself, and if people don't like it, that teaches you to kick them out of your life. Not physically kick them out of your life, but like, they don't have to be in your life anymore. And that's okay. And it can be so scary when you know you have to do something good for you and you feel guilty for it. That happens too. But just understanding how important it is to not overthink what it is that you're supposed to be doing, and just remember that everything is going the exact way it is supposed to. That is something that comes in my mind often, because I would say I'm very aligned with what I'm supposed to be doing in my life. So for me, there's times in my day where I'm like, dude, am I actually doing what I'm supposed to be doing? But then I remember this one thing that always comes to my mind when exactly I need it. Tristan, calm down. Everything is happening exactly the way you need. Everything is happening exactly the way it needs to. It's supposed to go this way. You're supposed to be learning these things. And it brings me peace, Because whenever that sentence comes in my head, I'm like, okay, I can just chill out. I can relax now. I don't have to remember. I don't have to be freaking out. I don't got to get this done right now. I can take my time. And that feels a lot better than having to feel like I have everything on top of my shoulders. Everything is just, my responsibility. Not everything in the world is my responsibility. What is my responsibility is the things that are going on in my daily life, the things that are actually here that I am controlling and that are around me. And I forget how important it is to just take that step back, because I will preach it, I'll talk about it, do it all the time. But then I have to be the one to sit back and be like, bro, I gotta chill the hell out. And it feels good, especially when that day comes like yesterday where you just get hit. And, you may be feeling like, why am I feeling so crappy? Why am I feeling so sick? And then by the end of the day, you're like, I didn't slow down and I've been doing a lot of extra work because I want to get it done quicker. And it doesn't always work that way. Having that pressure on our backs, you have to allow the pressure to dissipate. Allow it to disappear. And that's why I'm going to say it again for if you haven't figured it out. Do some meditations. I talk about it a lot because I feel like it needs to be said so much. Because we forget while we're trying to do everything else, and while we are already constantly consuming the constant stuff going on in our lives, we forget how important it is to be able to take 20 minutes out of our day and completely shut off. It's important. And that doesn't mean like shutting off like just the TV and having your phone out. Like even now when I'm doing some meditations, I have to turn off my meditation apps. I have to, because constantly taking in some sort of noise or something, unless you're outside in nature, laying down in the grass, doing absolutely nothing except looking up at the sun, breathing techniques, sitting out in the grass, that's something I miss. It's been cloudy here and it's been cool and chilly. It's not bad. I'm very grateful for it. Feels nice outside to sit out there for a little bit. But I do miss sitting out in the sun and tanning and being able to just be in nature. Also, ticks are coming out. I'm in the Midwest. I don't know if there's deer ticks crawling around, and I dead ass don't want Lyme's disease. Just being frank. These are the things I think about. Those are the intrusive thoughts I get. Tristan, if you lay out in the grass or, like lay out on my towel in the grass, at some point, you gotta be careful. All those critters that are coming out, man. And I'm like, well, now I don't even want to go outside. But it's important, especially being in nature. Yesterday we had a lunar eclipse. I spent a little bit of time in nature. People got to see it. It was cloudy here. I didn't get to see it, which is okay. The last lunar eclipse that was happening, that ended up happening on the other side of the planet, that was happening in Australia earlier in the month, or earlier in April, like way early in April. I had a full moon that night. I didn't get any of the eclipse or anything. But I left out like glasses of water. I did my little moon rituals. It was just really cool. It was something out of my normal, and it gave me an option to try something new that could ultimately help my day and to help me live a little bit more at peace rather than just stressing. My therapist says, Tristan, you need to get out and start running or walking more so you can lower your cortisol. I'm like, yeah, you're probably right, but, I got weed too. But I do like walking. I have this incredible app called the Tree Card app where it tracks your steps in a day. And if you get 10,000 steps, you get to plant a tree. And it actually, the organization that runs this actually plants a tree for every 10,000 steps you take. But also on the app, you get your own little island of trees. And I have like 21 trees now. And I was working towards getting these coconut made bowls, like entirely made out of coconut. And it was 1,600 points. I am about to get 1,600 points, and guess what was taken off? My bowls. Oh. It's really cool when you can take something that is helping the environment, but also make it so, not immersive, but it just makes it fun. Because now it makes me feel inclined to go outside and walk. Because not only am I doing something good for my health, I'm also doing something in return to the environment. And I'm also being able to get points that can be used to getting like coupons. Like there's this company that makes um like okay, this is actually really cool. So they make these products. You can get either hammocks or you can get hanging tents, where it's like a hammock, but it's an actual tent where you connect it to two trees and it hovers over the ground. It's so cool. But they cost so much money, bro. So much money. The cheapest hammock, I think, was $60. And I'm like, bro, I just want a hammock. Oh, wow. Great song just came on. Um, I just, finding ways to be at peace in different ways so then we can just release pressure and stress, because especially coming from someone who, puts pressure on themselves because they have to hold themselves accountable. I don't want to just let myself down. I don't, one of the last things I talked about in previous episodes is, what are you afraid of, failure or success? I'm not afraid of failing. I'm afraid of letting myself down, because I see myself being successful and I deserve to be successful. And I'm breaking this fear. I am going to do what I need to lose the fear of letting myself down, because I feel like, just like anything, this is what my therapist told me. My therapist told me, you will never be able to let yourself down because you'll always try to find a way to keep going. And she was right. Resonated with that completely. I don't take no for an answer, except in specific situations. But at the same time, when it goes towards me working towards my goals, I don't take no for an answer. I will keep on going, even if I fall down, even if something doesn't go the way that I want it to, only because I'm stubborn. I'm persistent, and I just want to make my dreams come true, because it's so important to be able to do that, especially when we live in a world where it can knock down your dreams and knock down your goals, and it can make you feel like you're not even anywhere close to getting what it is that you want. And that is difficult, especially in a world where you see people constantly on social media being able to achieve things, but you're only seeing 10% of their entire lives. You're not even seeing the other 90% of what's actually happening in the background. You don't really know what's going on. You only see the forefront of what you see. Unless someone actually goes deeper and lets you in a little bit more, you're never really going to know. So, don't just look at what other people are doing. Don't look at how everybody else is living. Go into the bathroom, look at yourself in the mirror, and look at yourself, and you say, are you happy with your life? And if you're not happy with your life, you look at yourself, continue to look at yourself in the mirror, and you say, I'm not going to take any less than what I want. And that takes time. And that's okay. It takes time. Work pays off. And that's what's so great about it, is that you get to have the opportunity to keep going. And you don't have to rush yourself. Because whatever is yours is going to come to you. It just takes time, and as long as you're putting in active effort to doing it, it's going to come. And if you just recently got knocked down by something you're really looking forward to, just remember that there is always an opportunity in the future. And though you may not see it, does not mean it's not possible. It just means that you haven't seen it yet. But as long as you're making active effort and you're just taking the steps you need, and you're being easier on yourself, and you're just experiencing life and choosing to just be rather than just go and do, allow that pressure to dissipate. Allow yourself to release the pain, the worry, the stress, because everything is going exactly the way you need to. Everything is going exactly the way it needs to. And that is like the biggest reminder. If angel numbers are my thing, I see 444 quite often, 222 very often. 343, it's just very cool, especially when you aren't expecting yourself going in the right direction, and then when you just get this sign that everything is going exactly the way it needs to, you can just breathe. And being able to just breathe without having to receive signs all the time is even more peaceful, because I feel like that is a point where you start to remember, not even remember, you just let go. You've let go completely of needing a sign, of needing to know what's happening, needing to know that you're going in the right direction, and you're just like, you know what? I can no longer put in this energy in hoping that I'm doing the right things, I'm doing the right stuff. I'm just going to let it go and continue to just be a kind, loving human being and just keep on keep it on. I it's going to be tricky, especially in times when you don't even know what you're doing, and especially at times where like you really feel like you need to get stuff done. It's not like, we're not always procrastinating. And if we have trouble with procrastination, if we have trouble with dealing with things at the time that we need to deal with them, especially since, in the past I've talked about how with people who have ADHD, their time slots in their days are more than likely going to go as right now and not right now. And whatever is happening right now can get done, but that's just going to lead to overexhaustion, overstimulation, because that's the problem. It's not a problem. We not being able to regulate it. And that's why I did something very, very cool for myself, which I think is really, really cool. I actually just made myself a weekly schedule, which is awesome. I've never been that, like, I've never gotten the energy to just do it. And over the past weekend, or no, over the past week, I was trying to do it. I had the idea. I was like, maybe I can start making myself a schedule. And then yesterday, being the lunar eclipse, stands for change, positive change. I did something. I took something from the ethereal world. I took something that I was thinking about and I put it into the real world. And I'm excited to see how I do. I'm doing a great job because I'm already following it kind of right now, and I'm holding myself accountable, which is really, really important to me. And I just feel really, really good about that. I'm feeling, positive, upbeat. I'm uplifted when it comes to it. I've done what I've needed to. I've done what I've needed to do. I am getting better at certain things that I wouldn't expect. I am constantly trying to try new things. I'm opening myself up to different options in the world rather than, just being a human being who's just constantly repeating cycles. I love this learning opportunity. I love the opportunity to experience life. When I finally realized, because it took me a long time, I grew up Christian. I grew up in a home where it was just based around Christianity, and I never really, here's what I will say. I've never really had this conversation with a lot of people. So over the course of my life, what I'm remembering now from, because I've started to get like very random memories to come into my mind at random times. So lately I've been getting random memories of my childhood. And there was a point in my childhood where I found out something about Hindu, or no, I had dreams about reincarnation. I remember I learned about reincarnation at some point in my childhood, and I started questioning like that, because I felt that it aligned with me. I always saw life as, it didn't feel like it just ended. Why would life just end? Because people are constantly coming in, people are constantly going out. How would life just end? And it's like, it's so interesting to think of it that way. So, like, over the course of my life, I was always like, reincarnation, not saying that I'm going to come back as a bug and I'm going to get squashed when I'm 5 years old in that bug life. But it's more so like, I am a piece of consciousness who comes into life, who gets taken out for a little bit of time in that realm. But in this realm, it'll probably take people thousands of years, or I'll go back in time and I'll come at a different era of time, or it's so vast and crazy. but it's always aligned with me. I've always resonated with me. I've always seen myself as someone who's going to come into contact with God. And I'm going to be standing right in front of God, and he's going to talk to me about my life, and he's going to show me everything I've ever done. And that's what's happened. This is the kind of thoughts I've had ever since I've had psychedelics. When I had psychedelics, one of my favorite experiences I ever had on psychedelics was there was a point where I was sitting in my friend's living room. We were probably 2 or 3 hours in. I had taken 4 grams of mushrooms at the time. And what ended up happening was, in this moment, I'm sitting on the couch and I'm looking up. And there was a point where I saw 5 pair of eyes looking back at me. And all I remember is I knew exactly who they were, each person. I knew they were me. They were me looking back at me. But they weren't me. They were different people I have been in recent lives. And what was so crazy is I was just able to connect with them just by how they were looking at me. And it was 5 different pairs of eyes, like just down in, like, it's like doing a horizontal graph. You just have these pairs of eyes just looking back at you. But I knew exactly who they were. And then there was another moment in the same experience where I was jumping from place in the galaxy to place in the galaxy, just jumping from planet to planet, from place to place. And I just remember how fast I was moving. Opens your mind, grants, like, not even grants, it challenges your perception on life. It did not make me, agnostic or an atheist. Because I still believe in religion and God as a way of expressing himself in many different ways. Like, I saw an incredible, oh dude, actually I really want to say this. So there was Vivekananda. Vivekananda is a gentleman who came from India. And oh my gosh, are you telling me I don't have it right now? Oh man, I'm really hoping I can find it, because this is actually one of the craziest things I've read. Ah, ah. So Sri Ramakrishna, I believe, if I am not incorrect, is a Hindu, or I really don't want to overstep on this, but I will find more information I'll be able to discuss in the future. But I did just read about them. I was really reading about Vivekananda, who was a Hindu spiritual speaker who came from India, who was under Sri Ramakrishna, and basically, what I really want to say is this. Sri Krishna said, as many faiths, so many paths. And when I read that, it connected with me so much, because that's what I've seen religion as ever since one of the most important people to come into my life, Rafiq Nasser. He was one of the greatest father figures I've ever had. And, he was Muslim. And that opened my eyes, especially on the point of his death, because, over the course of my life, it challenged our belief on Christianity. God says it is only through Jesus Christ that you can go to heaven, and you can have, everlasting life. But when he passed, my mom went, you can really see it as you want, but on our side, on how we viewed it, it was more like my mother had a dream of him, and he was in a white robe, and he had said that he had spoken to the most amazing man. And to have the idea that to have the idea that Rafiq went to heaven. But at the same time, at this point where I'm at now, Rafiq just Rafiq passed, he met God, and he came back in a way to be able to say, like, he's still connected with God. It may have, and that is only out of our own way of being able to comprehend it, especially in this realm. I believe that there's no such thing as coincidences. I don't like, obviously, the brain can make up things and can move things around. Obviously, when you're REM sleep, one of the chemicals that your body makes is literally DMT. Is the strongest drug on this planet, and it makes up of everything on this planet, in every being. Even our body creates it. And during REM sleep, we get that chemical, and it seduces that or induces that. And so, when you are thinking like you just watched your loved one tell you that they met God and that they're in heaven, that's going to make you feel a certain way. It's going to open your mind to certain things. And then when, thinking about how Muslim religion, Christianity, Judaism, Hindu, Buddha, you think about it, these are all different places in the world where God was able to place himself there for everyone to learn of him, to learn about him, and to choose if they want to follow him or not. And that's what I find so incredible, because you have the opportunity, the person who is, I actually, one of my favorite quotes that have been said to me, Adam Fady, who was on the Economic Engine, and that was my episode, the Economic Engine and Spiritual Awakening or something like that. I'm gonna leave it in the description. He said the man who has the least of God is the most poor. And, when you have the opportunity at your fingertips to seek God and creation and whoever it is that started this all, the more you choose to go towards him and learn about him and learn of what he has done to place himself and done for this world, it just shows you how incredible it is that you get to live in this experience that he has made entirely out of his own self, and that we are pieces of God. It's just a beautiful thing. And another quote that I read not too long ago, for if it's not from C. Ramakrishna, it's from Vivekananda, and it was, harmony of religions is not uniformity, it is unity and diversity. And when I read that, I was like, dude, that's what the powers of our world say they're trying to achieve, but at the same time their actions prove otherwise. We live in a world where it's constantly hate and love is being attacked, and people can't be together because they have to be different, and people can't be united because that causes an uproar of people being joined hand in hand. And it just feels like governments and world powers don't even want that kind of stuff. But when you really think about how religion, spirituality, and how being connected by our diversity can really help us, because that also teaches us, it brings us closer, it allows us to understand perceptions of one another and allow the teachings of what other people have learned to be able to be passed on to us. And that's the whole point of life, is to learn, experience, and to gain knowledge and wisdom on how we can live better lives, or how we can live life in a different way compared to how we may have lived it in past lives or when we were younger. And that's why one of my favorite philosophical pieces of information that have been told to me quite recently from Hunter Hoffman. He told me, there is a piece of philosophy named the hedgehog and the fox. People who have a hedgehog mentality or a hedgehog point of view are more than likely going to see life in one way and one way only, and it's never going to change. But a fox will go through life adapting to what they learn, adapting to the knowledge, and becoming more flexible, and slightly fixing their thoughts and their processes and their point of views on different ways because of what they're learning. And I just think that's very, very cool. It's a very cool piece of information. And yeah, I've learned a lot of cool information lately that has helped me in ways that subconsciously has led me to make decisions that I probably wouldn't have made before. And that's why I'm so grateful to be learning and to have new pieces of information coming in. But yeah, it's been nice, and I think with the opportunity and the opportunities coming toward me, it's just going to teach me more and more, and that's what I'm excited for. Because I'm always excited to learn. And yeah, well, with that, my beautiful people, I hope you all have a wonderful week. I hope you all are learning new things that are, challenging your perception and challenge you to see things from different perspectives. And I hope that you are excited for what is to come and what is happening in our lives, even though somewhat can be detrimental or, sad or, hard. At least we can come here together and we can vibe out, chill out, talk about new information that we're learning, and even at the same time go at life in a different way rather than just repeating. And yeah. And with that, I hope you all have a wonderful morning, a wonderful afternoon, a wonderful evening, and a wonderful night.